2 days ago, I started a new little mini series on this channel where we're going to be going over all these different categories of cars and giving you one car for every budget that you could possibly have. 1K all the way up to $25,000. We did it on sedans and you guys seem to absolutely love it. So today we're going to be doing it on coupes. Now, before we get into the video, I know the definition of coupes is just like a two-door vehicle, but the way I look at it, to make it a little bit more interesting and to give it a little bit more of a narrowed down audience, we're going to be doing it as a two-door with at least 4 seats. That's what my definition of coupe is, so that's the definition that we're going to be going off of. So all these cars have 2 doors, but at least 4 seats. That's what I kind of think of. And in case you don't know, the way this little series works is we start at $25,000 and we give you a car that's under 25K. That's a coupe that I think is cool. Then we do 20K, 15, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and $1,000. Obviously, towards the end of this list, when it gets to like the $2,000, $1,000 range, those cars are not worth any money, to be honest, and they're just kind of cars that I found on Facebook Marketplace, but I do not recommend actually buying because any car under $2,000 is going to be an absolute hoopty. But either way, let's get right into the video with the $25,000 coupe. Alright, for under $25,000, I think the best choice that you have is the BMW 435i F32. The F32 is beautiful, man. I almost bought one before I bought the Integra, but they are very expensive. You could find 428i's for around, I would say, $10,000 to $13,000. But the 435i is what you're going to want. It comes with a 3-liter twin turbocharged inline-6 making 300 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. But that motor is the N52, which is a very N54, my bad, not N52. N54, which is a very good motor to build power on, so you could easily get a lot more power out of it. But that's not even the point, friend, okay? It's a 4 Series Beamer. It looks incredible, it's incredibly luxurious, it's comfortable to drive, and it's gonna catch some eyes. This thing looks very similar to an M4, so if you like M4s, but you don't have M4 money, which I don't blame you, nobody does, then buy yourself a 435i. For under $20,000, we're kind of taking a jump. We're going overseas real quick to talk about land of America, baby, with the Ford Mustang GT S197. Now, you can get lucky eventually if you search hard enough and find an S550 for under 20K, but I do not recommend buying that one, so we're going to go with the S197. It's a good car anyway. They're pretty equal. It comes with a 5-liter V8 making 400 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. Very solid stat line right there, friendo. Naturally aspirated 5.0 V8 making 400 horsepower with a rear-wheel drive drivetrain. Partner in crime. Sign me up for that. Now, I've never really been a big Mustang guy, just not my style, but I do have to admit this is a very incredible deal. For under $20,000, there's not many cars that make anywhere close to 400 horsepower, and especially in a car that's this well known, pretty damn reliable, and comes with a V8 that's naturally aspirated. That's pretty good. For under $15,000 is going to the wonderful Subaru BRZ. Now, before you get your panties in a bunch and start commenting down below that Mark Roden doesn't know what he's talking about, yes, the BRZ has 4 seats. I know, it's a little bit surprising. I always thought it only had 2 seats as well until a couple years ago when I looked it up and I was like, there's no freaking way. I don't understand how people with legs sit in the back of BRZs, but either way, they are there. Comes with a 2-liter flat 4 making 200 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. Obviously, this BRZs get a lot of hate for being very underpowered, and that is pretty damn ridiculous, only 200 horsepower, but the car is lightweight. So think of it, if you're buying a BRZ, you got to be the kind of guy that likes Miatas or Integras or like Civics or something like that. People that like lightweight cars that handle corners very well, and every time you add 10 or 20 horsepower onto this car, you really feel that extra horsepower. That's more the build. You're not going to be going fastest in a quarter mile. You're not going to be breaking any top land speed records or anything like that, but it's a very decent, well-handling little track car. For under $10,000, however, we're kind of taking a bit of a leap, going back into the world of luxury for a moment to talk about the Infiniti G37 Coupe. Oh, did you ever want a Nissan 370Z, but you don't have Nissan 370Z money? Or did you maybe want the 2 extra seats or something like that? Or maybe you wanted a little bit more of a luxurious bougie mobile? Well, then buy yourself a G37 Coupe. It's the same thing. Comes with the same motor, a 3.7-liter V6 making 330 horsepower, and it's rear-wheel drive as well, just like the 370Z, except the G37 Coupe gives you the option of all-wheel drive. Pretty impressive. I like that a lot. Thanks a lot, Infiniti. I, once again, just like the BMW we just talked about earlier, I almost bought a G37 Coupe instead of the Integra that I bought now, and the reason why is it just checks all the marks for me. 330 horsepower is very good. Rear wheel drive is very good. 3.7 liter V6, iffy, but the VQ37 VHR is a decent motor to build, so it can make more if you wanted to. And it's very luxurious, comfortable, and pretty damn reliable too, because it's a Nissan. For under $9,000, I, Mark Roden, am going to give you the option of the Chevy Camaro RS 5th generation. Now, sadly, you can't buy a 6th gen under like $25,000 yet today, but the 5th gen is still pretty cool. And yes, it is an RS, so before you start, you know, questioning your own sanity, this is a V6. It comes with a 3.6 liter V6, making 323 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. And now listen, I get it. Nobody wants a V6 muscle car. I understand that, but here's the thing. 323 horsepower is still pretty good. That's more horsepower than my 350Z. That's more horsepower than my Integra. That's more horsepower than a lot of cars out there, dude, especially for under $10,000. There's not a lot of cars making that horsepower number. As a matter of fact, in this video, there's only one other car under 10K that is making that horsepower number, and it's coming up pretty soon. But that's impressive to me, and it's rear-wheel drive still. It's still a Camaro. It still looks good. It just isn't going to have the V8. For under $8,000, I believe that the BMW 335i E92 is your best option. We just talked about the 4 Series F32, which is literally just a better version of the E92. But now it's time to talk about the E92. Like I said before, these are pretty much exactly the same car. The 435i is just a lot more bougie and new. So it comes with the same motor, a 3-liter twin turbocharged inline 6 making 300 horsepower, and it's rear wheel drive or all wheel drive. Now you may be asking, well, why would I even spend the extra money on the 4 Series then if this is the exact same car and it's like $20,000 cheaper? I don't know. I mean, it has, like I said, a little bit more luxuriousness to it. It has a lot more tech in it and stuff like that. But besides that, they really are kind of the same car. I hate sounding like a broken record here, but this is another car that I was looking at before I bought the Integra. A lot of these cars are like that. As a matter of fact, the very next car is also a car I was looking at. But it's an incredible car. N54 is great, but it has a reliability issue, so be careful of that. For under $7,000, I believe that the wonderful Hyundai Genesis Coupe is going to be a pretty damn good option, my friend. Like I just said before, this is another car I was looking at. That's it, though, for this video. All the rest of the cars I was not looking at. Well, actually, there is one more. Wow, I was looking at a lot of cars, man. I was looking at a lot of cars. But the Genesis Coupe, it's very underrated. Not a lot of people talk about it, and they absolutely should. It comes with a 3.8 liter V6, making 348 horsepower, and it's rear-wheel drive. Yes, that's right. You can have 350 horsepower for less than $7 grand. I know it doesn't sound believable, but it's the truth. Now, the one thing about these Hyundais is they don't make a lot of power. If you want to put a turbo on it, you can, but don't expect to be making anywhere close to 500 horsepower or anything like that. It just doesn't handle power that well. And on top of that, the motor itself is pretty unreliable. So there is a couple issues with it, I'm not going to lie to you, but if 350 horsepower out of the gate, if you're not really looking into the whole tuning thing and you just want a car that looks cool and gets the job done and has enough horsepower to be fun, then the Genesis Coupe is a pretty good option. On the opposite end of the spectrum, however, a car that's very good for tuning is the Nissan 240SX S13, which I believe is one of the best options for under $6,000. Now here's the thing, yes, an S13 should not be anywhere close to worth $6 grand at all. They are not worth that kind of money, but sadly they are in today's world, so we have to be paying that kind of money. And it's still kind of worth it in my opinion. They come with a 2.4 liter inline 4, making 155 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. Now once again, that stat lineup is not that insane. There's a lot of cars that make a lot more horsepower than this car does. But it's just a very, very fun vehicle. It's really good at drifting, obviously, because everybody drifts these things. They're very fun to just thrash around. There's modifications for them everywhere. You can buy anything you want for this car, and it can 100% be yours. And that's fun to me. On top of all that stuff, too, the great part about these S13s and all these old JDM cars that are so popular that they're getting too expensive is that you will never lose your money on them, because you know that there's always going to be people that want these S13s. So no matter what, not only will you make your money back, but you'll probably make more money selling this car as long as you keep good care of it. For less than $5,000, here's another car that I was looking at. This is the last one, though, for real this time. It's the Honda Prelude 5th generation. When I got into my little Honda boy phase, I started looking at all Hondas out there. I was looking at Civics, Integras, Preludes, RSX, absolute TLs. absolutely anything that you could think of made by Honda I was looking at, and the Prelude really caught my eye, and that's because it's a damn good vehicle. It comes with a 2.2 liter inline 4 making 195 horsepower, and it is front wheel drive. Believe it or not, that's actually one of the higher horsepower Hondas out there, and for under only $5,000, that's a pretty good deal. In terms of looks, I think the Prelude looks great, like don't get me wrong, but I really wish they didn't give it like Minecraft Steve headlights. Why did they do that? They didn't need to do that. I don't get why they did. They just look, the headlights on the 5th gen Prelude do not look good. If they gave them the 4th gen Prelude headlights, which are aggressive looking and nice and cool, the car would have been amazing, but they make freaking headlights, man. For less than $4,000, here's a little bit of a oddball hitting you out of left field, the Mitsubishi Eclipse 4G GT. Any Eclipse GT is actually a pretty good deal right about now. They're very underrated cars, and they sit underneath $5,000 all day, every day, but we're going to go with the 4G because it has the most power. Comes with a 3.8 liter V6, making 263 horsepower, and it's front wheel drive. Yes, 263 horsepower. By the way, to put into perspective, the Ford Focus ST, very popular car, very popular tuner car in today's world, it makes 252 horsepower. It makes 11 horsepower less than this car. I don't know why people sleep on Eclipses so bad. Now, yes, the 4G, the 3G are both not that good for tuning, and the 2nd gen and the 1st gen are the ones that you really want to go for if you're making insane power. But if you don't really care too much about making like crazy power numbers and you just want a cool looking-ish, because the 4G looks a little odd, but a cool looking-ish car that's reliable and is pretty damn quick off the line, to the Eclipse 4G GT, pick it up, partner. For under $3,000, however, we're going to go into another car that's, I would say is underrated, but recently it's been getting a lot of love, so I think it's like perfectly rated right about now. It's the Toyota Celica GT 7th generation. If they stayed how popular they are right now, it would be perfect, but we all know that's not going to happen. These cars will probably fly up in popularity in a couple years, sadly. But either way, the car comes with a 1.8 liter inline 4 making 170 horsepower, and it is front wheel drive. You know what is reliable though? Honda. For under $2K, I think the Honda Civic 6th generation is an incredible option, and it's honestly mind-blowing how these cars are still sitting under $2K, because I thought they were going to be way more money than that. The SI version of the 6th gen Honda Civics are well over $5,000 already, but the base model versions you can find under $2,000 all day, every day. Now, they are going to be absolute walks in the park, and you're gonna have to slap your meat all over it in order to fix it, but it's still a good car, man. Comes with a 1.6 liter inline 4 making 106 horsepower, and it's front wheel drive. That's incredibly slow, I'm not gonna lie. That is not a fast car. I test drove one of these cars when I was looking for my Integra, and it is hilariously slow. Like it's a very, very slow car, don't get me wrong, but it's a Honda, so you can put any motor you want into it, or you can take the motor that's already in it, slap a turbocharger on it, and make like double the horsepower without having to worry about reliability at all. On top of that, yes, these are hoopties, but it's a Honda. Everything is like freaking pretty much free for it. Go to a junkyard, buy every part you could possibly need for this car, and you'll still be under the $1,000 mark. That's crazy. And it will look pretty good. It'll handle pretty nicely because it's an old lightweight Honda, and it'll have a pretty good motor that you can build and make a lot of power on if you wanted to. Good option, and it's reliable. For less than $1,000, you can get a Hot Wheels car. That's about it. But there are some cars that you can actually drive on the road somehow for less than $1K, and one of them is the Chevy Cobalt. Do I think it's a good idea to actually buy a Chevy Cobalt for less than $1,000? Not at all. Do I think it's a good idea to buy any car for less than $1,000? Not at all. The only people that buy cars for less than $1K are mechanics. And I mean seasoned mechanics, not like guys that are in high school and they think they're a mechanic because they put a cold air intake on their Integra. No, I'm talking real mechanics are the only ones that buy the ones under $1K because they know they can save them. Either way though, the Cobalt comes with a 2.2 liter inline 4 making 148 horsepower, and it's front wheel drive. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. There's not much great about this car, man. It's really, even if you find a decent option for under $1,000, it's still not going to be like a cool sports car that you're going to make look awesome. But what do you expect, man? I mean, you wanted a coupe for under $1K? I'm sorry, but you don't have much options here. I'm sorry that I'm laughing at you, but I just kind of found it a little bit funny that it only makes it's a very bad idea is all I'm trying to say. Okay, I don't recommend it, but if you are absolutely struggling for cash and you need a coupe for less than $1,000, the Chevy Cobalt is a pretty decent option. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of all the different coupes for under different price ranges for any budget out there. I hope you guys enjoyed. You guys seem to love the sedan video, so that's great because I was like really excited about this series. I thought about it. I was sleeping in bed one night and I was just, well, I wasn't sleeping obviously. I was laying in bed one night and I was just like, whoa, and a light bulb popped over my head. and I was like, wait a minute, this is a great idea for a video. So I immediately wrote it down in my phone notes, and sure enough, you guys seem to like it. So that's great news, because I like doing these. It's a fun little twist, I feel like, because I always do the budget car videos all the time. I've covered every possible car that you could possibly want for less than $5,000 nowadays. So I wanted to change it up, because you guys obviously love the budget car videos, and this, it just like slapped onto my lap like a piece of salami. It was great. I don't know who's dropping salami on people's laps, but it was just a metaphor, so don't take it too seriously. But either way, if you guys enjoyed, please let me know another type of, you know, budget cars for every budget video that you'd like to see. I'm thinking about doing hatchbacks next, or wagons, like both of them. And but I'll take any suggestions. So thank you guys so much for watching, though. I appreciate it. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.